Always great having my next guest on the show. It's Magic Mike Hamel, who will be back in action on June the 16th at Bellator 297 when he takes on Shamil Nikaev. Mike, how are you?
I'm not too bad, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, always great talking to you, man. You know that. I do understand you're going to be leaving soon for the LFA fights here tonight. So I wanted to ask you. I assume that you're going to be cornering someone or a couple of teammates. Tell me why you're heading down there tonight.
Yeah, got to go out there and show some love, man. I think the MMA Lab has like half the card. I think there's like one or two fights that we don't have somebody on. We've got 8 people fighting tonight, so it's awesome. We normally have that many people initially get on the card when the LFA comes to Phoenix, and then injuries or pullouts, whatever. We always end up with like 2 or 3, but never on our end pulling out. So the fact that they all stuck around, man, was a big deal. It made me super happy.
Give me a couple of up and comers that maybe like the mainstream like MMA fans out there might not know because they're kind of new in the game that really could
Yeah.
make a splash and take that next step soon.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go out. Maybe I'm the first one to ever say this on like a live interview, but his name's Ezra Elliott. He's a 35er. He's 2-0 as an amateur, and this is another amateur fight, but this is for sure probably gonna be his last. He is gonna take the MMA world by storm. He's like a freaking Charles Oliveira. Like he's a purple belt, but he's got to be the cleanest guy in the gym. Like if he gets on your back, it's a wrap. It doesn't matter if you're a 70-pounder on our team or another 35er. He's nasty, and he's so young too. Like shit, I think he just turned 23 yesterday. Like his hands are coming along. He was a couple times state champ in Illinois. Wrestled a semester in college and figured out college wasn't for him, so he started fighting. But just got a great mind for the sport, got a great work ethic. He's a super awesome kid, and he is a freaking nightmare on the mat.
Okay, noted. Ezra Elliott. Did I say that right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna have to look into him and pay attention to what's next for him and his career. Obviously, this fight tonight at LFA. So, are you guys gonna stick around and go out and celebrate afterwards, or what's the plan for coming back?
I mean, I'm sure those guys will. I got a fight in a month, so there will be no partying for me tonight. But I'll head in that back room and I'll celebrate with all those guys. They'll be happy after we go 8-0 tonight.
I saw you just posted a picture on Instagram, man, and you look ripped. What's the weight at right now today?
So the weight today, I was like 71, I think. I just haven't really put on any weight since the last fight because I knew the day after my fight that my manager called me and said, "Hey, they're gonna throw you on that Chicago fight." Oh, sorry, the wife is getting home and the dog's going crazy.
No worries.
Jameson. But yeah, so anyways, I found out the day after my fight that I was gonna get put on this card. So I was back in the gym, and doing everything right. So it just went from one camp to another and didn't have any injuries. So it was super smooth transition.
And obviously, you used to fight at featherweight. How nice is it to fight at lightweight now and not have to cut all that weight?
Oh man, it's a dream. I was literally just talking to my coach John Crouch about that. He like replied to my story about the post that I made, and he goes, "Holy cow, look how shredded you are." That was obviously like the night I was cutting weight and for the last fight. But I was like, "Yeah, man, can you believe I used to make 45?" And both of us were just kind of laughing. He's like, "It just blows my mind." So yeah, making 55 it's where I should be. I'm not a monster at the weight class by any means. I'm only 5'9". I walk around at about 175 if I'm fat and happy, but I get to enjoy my life again. I've got a gas tank. I've got a chin. Like everything about moving up has been good. Because there for a while, dude, like I was just starting to not like fighting. Like I was cutting so much weight. I was weighing out olive oil and spinach for fuck's sakes. Like no one should have to do that. And so it just was kind of making me resentful of something that I really love and cherish. And so making the move has completely changed my aspect on how I look at fighting and made me love it again.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, you look great at 155, man, and things are clearly going well for you. Let's talk about that most recent fight, Bellator 293, round one finish of Nick Brown. Could it have gone any better? I mean, that if people didn't know who you were by now, that
Yeah.
performance right there, that finish, just you exploded you to the whole MMA world.
Thank you, man. And it was needed, because like I've known how good I am. People who have fought me know how good I am, but I've taken some losses, and I've fought some tough motherfuckers. So it's just, I've had some things not necessarily go my way. I had an injury that put me out for a really long time. I've had a few of those, and so the fact that I went out there and I knew after that fight I was going to have one fight left on my contract. So that's when you renegotiate. And so the fact that I went out there, I got a highlight reel knockout. It was just like a culmination of 10 years of busting my ass into one battle cry celebration on top of the cage.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Very well said. Now, you were originally supposed to fight Max Rosskopf, and that fight was scrapped. He wasn't medically cleared, if I'm
Yep.
getting that right. Is
Yeah.
obviously right now you're totally focused on Shamil, but is that a fight that you'd like to line up at some point down the line again?
He's got to go win. You know what I mean? Yeah, Max is tough, but he's got whatever's going on with whatever makes him not cleared. It's something in his medicals, and then they actually offered me him again in California. And I said, why in the world would I go through another fight camp and to fight him in the same commission that pulled him from the card? And I've never turned down a fight in my life, and I turned that one down because I'm like, no, that makes zero sense. I'm not going to kill myself for 8 weeks again, make weight, bring all my friends and family who spend their hard-earned money on tickets, and them not even get to see me perform. And so it's like, nah, I don't really care, man. I'm not looking backwards, and Max is a backwards fight for me. I'm looking at the people who are fighting in that tournament right now, and obviously I'm not looking past Shamil. Shamil's tough as shit. He is tough as nails, and he's proven he's never lost an MMA fight, amateur or pro. So I've got a real heavy duty to get in front of me first, but then after that, I'm looking at those top guys.
For sure. What did you think of Max's most recent fight, though? Did you watch it, and just what are your overall takeaways from it?
Uh, so to me, it looked like he still is nervous on his feet a little bit, and he was forcing the wrestling. But that Chris Gonzalez is tough, and he's no slouch. And Max took him down, got on his back right away. I was impressed with Chris's jiu-jitsu at that point, because that's kind of what we were game planning for. We're like, if he gets us to the ground and gets our back, like, he's nasty there, and he really believes in his jiu-jitsu. But on the feet, I kind of thought that's what he was going to look like. Like, I knew that was where I was going to win that fight. I was going to be better than him on the feet. And that shot that put him down wasn't even on his chin. It was on his forehead. So I don't know if he cuts a lot of weight or if it's something with his medicals, but I don't know. I think he maybe needs to let his head heal or something like that, because you shouldn't be getting put down from shots in the forehead unless it's like a shin to your head. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. That makes sense. So
Yeah.
you're clearly moved past him at this point. You got your eyes focused on that top 10 of the division, obviously.
Yeah.
And at this point, you got to be knocking on that door, right? I mean, if you get this win over Shamil, you have to be in the top 10.
Yeah, man. And it's like, I kind of thought I was going to be in the top 10 after this last fight anyways. I'm like, I'm on a 3-fight win streak, and look what Mota's done to people. I beat Bryce Logan. He just knocked out Peter Quayle. I beat Achilles Mota. He's freaking been running through his last 30 people. Nick Brown was an LFA champ. His only loss in Bellator was to Islam, who's ranked like 4th in Bellator right now, something like that. So it's like, these guys that I'm beating are no slouches. They're real good. I thought that was going to be enough, but whatever. Rankings don't matter. You got to show up and fight anyways.
And the guy that you fought fairly recently, Usman Nurmagomedov, is now the champion, and you're one of only 2 guys recently, anyways, to not get finished, to take him the distance. I mean, and the other guy's Pitbull. What does that say just about how tough you are? I mean, that in itself right there has to be kind of like a statement in a sense to the rest of the division, just about how tough Mike Hamel is.
I mean, and I'm the only one who's won a round on him. I know not every judge gave me that 3rd round. I think 2 of them did. But it's like, listen, I won that 3rd round. You can go back and you watch the tape. I stole a round from him. And that was 2.5 years ago. I know he's better, but I'm so much better. I was just starting to get comfortable on my feet during that fight. Like, I was still pretty much just a wrestler going into that fight. I've evolved so much. I've physically matured. I've grown into the weight class a little bit better. My striking has gone up levels. Like, that's a fight that I'm going to get back. Like, it's just a matter of when at this point. It's like, it's not if it's going to happen. I'll get that fight back eventually.
And you told me before we went live here that you did just recently re-sign a contract with Bellator. Tell me a little bit about the details, if you can.
Yeah, so I just got a new 4-fight deal. So pretty standard, but they upped my pay a decent amount, and started paying me what I think I've always been worth, and gave me a new deal and gave me a fight right away. So, there's not many compliments that you get necessarily from an organization, but giving you a new contract, upping your pay, and fighting you right away, that's a pretty big compliment. So I'm happy with that.
And you have a new manager as well. You left Iridium. Can you tell me a little bit about your new management team and how they've been helping you?
Yeah. So with Randall Ailman, it's Dave Martin's management. It's called MAG Agency. They work with a number of high level people. Mike Chandler, Robbie Lawler, Luke Rockhold. My teammate actually hooked me up with them, Bryce Meredith, because they're real big in the wrestling world. So they've been managing Bryce right since he got out of college, and they've always done him really well. And dude, I don't have any bad things to say about my other agency. I'm just a lot happier with what my needs are and what I wanted and what I felt myself was valued at. I'm now receiving that. So
Okay, very good. Well, tell me about this camp, man. MMA Lab, clearly one of the best gyms out there. Who have been
yeah.
your main partners to help you prepare for Shamil for this particular fight?
Yeah. So I mean, I've said this in numerous interviews and to you before. Everybody helps everybody in camp. I'll do rounds with 35ers. I'll do rounds with Jared Cannonier. It doesn't matter. We all work together. Even though Benson's retired, he's still in there. But I don't know if you remember the name Joe Gelati. Fought in the UFC about 5-6 years ago. He was part of Power MMA and Fitness, with Ryan Bader and CB Dollaway and all those guys. But he's a 70-pounder and he's about 5'9". He's built exactly like my dude. He wrestles pretty well, so he's a big 200-pound body in there that I've got to be doing my rounds with. So he's been giving me great work. He's an awesome dude, and I'm excited for his comeback.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, there's so many killers at your gym. I mean, some days when you walk in there, do you look around and just be like, "Wow, I mean, this is just the perfect place to get the work that I need to really just keep evolving."
I know, like we kind of joke about it because we'll get guys come in from like new gyms, you know what I mean? They're gonna come do their fight camp here. They like know that we're a really good gym, so they move their life out here. And their first like week or two, they're just like almost all of them are a little bit mentally broke when they get there because they're getting their ass beat by some dude they've never heard of who's a 2-0 amateur on our fight team. And they're like, who is this guy? And it's like they're just not an easy round in there, so it's like it's the best place, because I have rounds where I go in and I'm probably not winning a round, and I'm like, man, then that's how you're in a good place. If I go out there and I'm beating the shit out of every single one of my teammates, it's probably time for me to move on.
Yeah,
you know
no,
you're never going to have that in our gym. Never.
yeah, no, absolutely. Again, I mean, MMA Lab, it's as good as it gets, man. Let's talk about this upcoming fight, Bellator 297, June 16th in Chicago, Illinois. I got to tell you, man, I drove cross country, a decade ago when I moved out west to California, and I
Yeah.
stopped and I stayed in Chicago for a night. And one thing that I kick myself for that I don't know why I didn't do it. I didn't get my picture with the MJ statue. So is that something that you plan to do while you're there?
Oh, dude, of course. One of my, it's funny you say that. So one of my teammates, Leslie Hernandez, she fights in the LFA. Her and her husband, they own a shoe store called Pick and Roll Kicks. And they sell like exclusive Jordans and stuff like that. So they actually hooked me up with a pair for this fight camp. I got like the old throwback Jordan ones, the red and black, but they're like a little bit newer. They're called the Lost and Found Jordans. So they've got like charcoal on them instead of like straight black. So I got that. I might get a Dennis Rodman jersey, throw that thing on there, and go take a picture in front of the MJ jersey. I mean, how can you not, dude? Michael
I
Jordan,
know.
he's the greatest athlete of all time, greatest competitor.
Yeah, 100%. I'll have to send you a picture later of my sneaker collection. My wife hates it every time there's a new pair, but I have those lost and founds. Once you
Oh
see the collection, you'll yeah, it's a little ridiculous, but yeah, huge
yeah,
basketball fan. I saw also that you had a picture or at least a post on your Instagram wearing a Suns jersey. So I just wanted
yeah,
to ask, what are your thoughts for next season for Phoenix? Obviously Chris Paul was injured. How do you think they'll
yeah.
be next year? And give me your prediction for the NBA Finals this year.
So the NBA Finals this year, Nuggets are winning it all. I think. I at this point, I hope Boston wins it. Like I do. Like my dad grew up right outside of Boston, so my whole family on my dad's side of the family, big Red Sox, big Celtics fan, everything like that. So I'm hoping that they win it. But man, after watching freaking Joker play, that fucking bastard is good at basketball. He doesn't miss, and he doesn't even look like he's doing anything. He kind of just gradually throws shit up, and it just all goes in. So, but for speaking of the Suns, we just got to get tougher. Like, I'm sorry that your rib hurts, Ayton, but you're gonna sit out in the Western Conference semifinals. Like, bud, I fought with no bicep tendons and torn rotator cuff. Like, suck it up, dude. We're paying you millions of dollars for you to sit on the bench. Chris Paul, I get it. You're a little old. You're a vet. You've been here before. But I don't know, man. I also think we got to get rid of our head coach. I think that he is blessed with a really good team, but he's not really that great of a coach. So
Okay, fair enough. Well, between Booker and KD, you got those two cornerstones right there. So I'm sure next year you can tweak some things and you'll be right back at it, man.
like on paper, we're the best team out there. So I don't know how we're losing these games, you know. So something's got to click either in the coaching staff, or those boys need to come hang out at the MMA lab for a little bit. They need to get a little tougher.
I love it, man. Let's let me get your predictions for the main and co-main for Bellator 297. Obviously, the main event is for the 205 title, Nemkov versus Romero, and then the 135 title, Sergio Pettis and Patricio Pitbull. Who do you see winning those two fights here, Bellator 297?
I think Nemkov, man. Romero just really doesn't do much, and his wrestling is going to get pretty evened out. Nemkov is no joke of a wrestler, and Romero's a fantastic wrestler, but he doesn't ever ride anybody, right? He's got that Olympic style wrestling where it's like, if I don't turn you, they put me back up after a little bit anyways. And so he's never really been like a wrestler type anyways. He's just got explosive ass one punch knockout, kick, power, knee, whatever, any of the limbs he hits you with, something's going down. But that Nemkov, he's quick, he wrestles well, he's got a gas tank. I just don't see how Romero beats him unless he catches him. So that's my pick for that one. And then man, I think Pitbull's gonna be slow. I think, like, he's fought at 55, he's fought at 45, obviously, but it's not like he's a quick fighter. He kind of just marches people down. But that Pettis is lightning fast.
Yeah.
Like, he's like a Demetrius Johnson, but all it takes is one from Pitbull. So but I don't know if he's going to keep his power. I know when I used to make 45, I'd be having my sparring rounds and I knew I hit hard, like I'd be hurting sparring partners on accident. Like, I just felt like Lenny off of the Mice's Men. I didn't know what power I had, but then I'd get into fights and I'd touch somebody and nothing would happen. I'd be like, did these last 10 pounds just take away like my superpowers? So I don't know. He may lose that making the cut, and he may lose his chin. That's what happened to Dillashaw. He freaking lost his chin making that cut.
Yeah. That's a great point. And it just goes back to what you're saying, how much more comfortable you are now fighting at 155 versus going all the way down to 45. So great points, man. Well, let's dive into this fight with Shamil. Again, this guy's undefeated. He's 10-0. He got a UD win most recently over Cameron Lachinov, a guy that I know pretty well. He's from my area. And then he's also beat Christos Giagos, who's in the UFC right now, and another very talented fighter. So when you look at this matchup, Mike, how do you see this going? How difficult of a fight do you think this is going to be?
It's going to be a tough fight. He's tough as nails, and I think in that Lachinov fight, I'm pretty sure he blew out his knee in that first knee bar, and that's why he's been out for so long. So the fact that he fought through a blown out knee in the super high paced match or fight, you know what I mean? Like, it says a lot about him and his character. Like, he's a tough dude. I'm just mentally prepared to know that when I hit him, he's not going anywhere, because he ate about 100 significant strikes in the third round of that Lachinov fight and just sat there and giggled at the guy. So he's a little bit crazy, I think, but he's good. He's a good wrestler, but his technique's not great to get there. Like, he takes shots with his ass up in the air and his head down, but he kind of gets away with it because you can just tell he's so freakishly strong. So I'm going to have to move my feet. I'm going to have to use my speed. And hey, dude, I was an All-American in college. Like, I'm a damn good wrestler. So I'm going to have to make it dirty. And I think that if I stuff a few of his takedowns, or even if he takes me down and I pop back up and I make it scrambly, he doesn't have the gas tank to hang with me. So it's going to be one of those fights that I'm going to have to just peck at him, right? Make sure my feet are moving, hitting him with 1-2s on the outside, making him miss because he's got a big right hand. It's really all he throws, a big right hand into a left hook, and then he hits a double leg. He's pretty typical. He almost fights like all the alpha male guys. But yeah, so I just got to be prepped for that, and I got to make sure that my gas tank is good, which it always is. So I just got to keep doing what I'm doing.
And as we said earlier, which everyone already knows, you fought Usman Nurmagomedov, the champion, a couple of years ago. Obviously,
Yeah,
he's evolved since that fight, as have you. But do
yeah.
you feel like this fight against Shamil is going to be as difficult as when you initially fought Usman?
No, no. Usman kicked me in the body about 100 times. Now I don't know how many of those people out there listening to the show have ever been kicked in the belly, but it is terrible. And it takes your gas tank all the way down every single time you get hit. And he broke my nose the first punch he threw. He hit me with a straight jab. And I remember my eyes started watering. I'm like, what the hell? And I started circling away so I could see if I was bleeding. My whole chest was already covered in blood. So it's like getting through, having a whole fight with a busted nose. I had toe print bruises on my body for like 2 weeks after, just all over random spots. He bruised my nipples, for God's sakes. Like is he was tough, and I had to dig deep. So yes, this is going to be a tough fight, but he's not going to be able to take me into the same water as Usman is. Usman's the best 55er in the world. I truly believe that, and I stood right there with him. So he's going to have to bring a lot for me to really think that highly of him.
You think Usman is better than Makhachev?
I've listened to a couple interviews with Makhachev, and the way he talks about Usman sounds like he's talking about somebody that beats him. That's my 2 cents. Me and some of the guys on the team have talked about it. And I don't, obviously, you never know what happens behind closed door. And Makhachev could be just a big older brother and beat the brakes off of him. I don't know. But maybe he's just talking overly nice. But yeah, I don't know, man.
Okay. Well, fair enough. Well, clearly, as you already said, the fight with Cameron Lachinov, we saw how tough Shamil is. So, having said that, do you feel like this is a fight where you're just going to have to grind, and win a decision? Or do you feel like ultimately, maybe you can get him out of there?
I think if I get him out of there, it's going to be in the later rounds, and it's going to be because I took his heart, not because I took his head. It's going to be one of those things that he's going to get really frustrated when he realizes how good of a wrestler I am, and he's going to start throwing big when he realizes how fast I am in there. I was a quicker 45er, and I'm a lot quicker at 55 now compared to those guys. So I think it's going to be one of those things that I'm just going to take a little piece of his heart every single round. And if the finish comes, it's going to come in the third round, and it's because he's going to be giving up because he knows there's no light at the end of the tunnel.
Can't wait for this fight, man. It's a stacked card. I was looking at it. I thought that maybe you'd be a little higher up, maybe like
Oh,
the main card.
that's what I was thinking. And then I saw freaking Corey Anderson's on the card, and I'm like, well, looks like I'm not getting on the main card.
Oh, that's all right. Well, you'll still get a lot of eyeballs on your fight. There's no doubt about that, man. Mike, I can't wait to see you back in there. June 16th can't get here soon enough. Magic Mike Hamel back at it, Bellator 297 in Chicago, Illinois against Shamil Nikaev. Always great talking to you, buddy. Before we do, yeah, man, of course, always. Before we do sign off, I want to kick it over to you as always. Tell people where they can follow you on social media. If you have anyone to thank, any sponsors to plug, the floor is yours.
Yep. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Magic Mike MMA. It's the same on Twitter. Don't really use Twitter, but you follow my Instagram, and I'll throw on some funny stuff on there sometimes. Hanging out with the homies, cooking some food, kicking people in the head. It's a good social network to follow. But as far as sponsors, I got the same ones as always. I got that Arizona IV Medics that is always rocking with me. So if you're in the Phoenix Valley, hit them up. Mobile IV company comes right to you if you're sick or hungover is normally when most people use them. And X Endurance supplements, they've been fantastic. They're nice, clean, third party tested supplements. So I know what I'm getting, and I know I'm not gonna have to worry about popping any drug tests with those things. So it's always great to have them.